Sometimes it comes out right and sometimes it doesn't.
Welcome to Cheers to This, the podcast where meaningful conversation is mixed with a good drink. I'm Jay Hutchins, your host, and we have our guest Mary here today, who's pretty perfect at being a little bit imperfect. So I want you all to grab a drink and join the conversation with us. Hi, Mary. How's it going?
It's going great. Thanks, Jay, for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. You know, at Cheers to This, we've got to start with a very important question always. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a high noon. Black cherry is my go-to flavor.
Nice. A black cherry high noon. I'm just
Mhm.
rocking a little Prosecco with a little bit of cranberry.
It
Just a little
looks
bit.
very pretty.
That's what I'm going for. So I appreciate it.
Is that your go-to drink?
It is not a go to drink, but it
Hmm.
felt like it fit the mood today.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're just vibing with it just a little bit.
This is my go-to drink when I'm at home.
Oh, okay. So you're with a classic, an old standard for you. I love
Hmm.
it. I
Yep.
respect it. So, Mary, do you have anything you would like to cheers to today?
I would like to cheers to being able to make a podcast without kids running around because they're at grandma's house.
Cheers to that kind of peace. Indeed.
Peace.
I love it.
How about you? What would you like to cheers to today?
You know, I think I'm going to save that for later because I have an idea.
Okay.
We'll get to it.
Anticipation. I like it.
So, I want to talk about your online persona for a second, if I may.
Okay.
So, online, you have described yourself as a type B personality. What does that actually mean to you?
Mm. So a type B personality typically, well, to me at least, it means somebody who is unorganized, somebody who doesn't plan things out, like not a list maker. Um, I'm thinking of like the opposite of type A, right? Like type A is very structured, um, kind of like they know what's going to happen next. Like everything just kind of is in line for them. I'm the opposite. I'm not. And that's not just an online personality, that is my personality. Where I just am like, I want to be type A. I want to be like organized and put together,
Hmm?
but I'm just not. I'm chaotic and I make a mess everywhere I go.
But it's a beautiful mess, it seems like. I mean, was there a moment or an event that led to this realization that, you know what, I'm not type A? Or was it more of like an organic way that you just kind of always been and you just knew it like instinctually?
I've certainly always been this way, but there was a defining moment when I was actually diagnosed with ADHD and I realized the characteristics of some people with ADHD, the type of ADHD that I have is very much like that is the personality, like being a procrastinator, being messy, like I'm a pile maker. I lose everything all the time. Like I'm always looking for my stuff and I thought that that had to do with me being lazy, just disorganized. Like I was, a lot of like self-blame comes with that too. And when I
Hmm.
actually got that diagnosis and then started really digging into that, it was like, oh, one of those, it's not my fault that I'm this way, like, because I have tried so hard
Hmm.
to make the lists, to do the things, to organize everything, to write labels, like, I'm gonna put everything back where it belongs, and it's just, it just
It's just
doesn't.
not the way that the cookie crumbles, I
Mhm.
guess.
Yeah, it's messy.
I would have to say that you're kind of speaking my language as a fellow person with an ADHD diagnosis. Making the piles a little bit of a mess, definitely the procrastination. So I totally get that. My diagnosis is relatively recent. So, what advice would you have for someone that suddenly stumbles onto the fact that, oh, there's meaning to the madness all of a sudden?
My diagnosis is relatively recent too. I was diagnosed just 3 years ago at
Mhm.
40, which felt, um like a kind of like a tough pill to swallow. In a way, it was a relief of, okay, it's not my fault that I'm this way. But then I also felt I had a lot of like grief over my life almost. Like I
Mm.
would have been I could have been so much better in college. I could have been a better teacher if I would have been, maybe, and then therapy, to my therapist and I talked through that a lot, and she said that's a normal feeling when people get a diagnosis of anything, but
Mhm.
also that, my life is what it is because I had to overcome those challenges. So I would say embrace quirkiness, which you do an excellent job of. Embrace the
Thanks.
chaos, embrace like what your characteristics are.
Mhm.
And then there are things though that once you realize it, like I know that I'm a procrastinator, but I'm also like an avoider. So, being very thoughtful about what I'm going to do, like
Mhm.
timelines are very helpful to me now. That's something that there are lots of little things that I've learned through different TikToks and stuff, and actually reading this one book, that really helped me, but, like, when you need to, like, clean for 15 minutes, like, you come into the house and, like, leave your shoes on. Like, don't
Oh,
take off your shoes. That's just triggers something to the brain. Or if you set the microwave for 3 minutes, like, give yourself a game of, like, how much can I do in 3 minutes?
fun. Get that little dopamine hit.
Exactly, because that's what ADH seekers are always looking for.
So I will tell that to my microwave and the stack of dishes, so that's good. Mhm,
And
mhm,
once you
mhm.
start doing that, you realize how much you can get done in 10 minutes. It's actually eye-opening of like, wow, I waited to do those dishes for 3 days and they took 10 minutes.
Yeah, the avoidance, there's kind of this I don't know if you have to be ADHD to get this, but there's this slight joy and relief with the avoidance, but then there's also this slight panic that comes with the avoidance as well, right? And so it's kind of it's a weird space to be in.
Mm.
I don't know if anyone else experiences it that way, but that's how I experience the avoidance.
I think a lot of people do. And it's because it's also like a guilt, right? Like
Mhm.
it's almost a dopamine of like, how long can I wait to do this before I get in trouble or before it gets to the point where I have to do it, and then it's a guilt in my feeling, at least, it's a guilt of like, "Why did I wait 2 days to do that?" And it really only took 10 minutes. Like, what holds me back from doing that?
No, I totally, totally get that.
Oh,
So I want to circle back to this type B thing
okay.
because I feel like it's got to be kind of freeing. Now, what has been the most freeing thing about just embracing it?
I would say so type B, I'm not like I don't like things like that, like, just don't stress me out. I'm very
Mm.
much like, it'll be fine, like, everything will be fine. Whereas I know type A people that I know, like, they can't do that. They can't, like, just be like, "It'll be fine." I'm like, "It doesn't matter if, like, it's gonna be fine. It'll be fine."
Listen, Mary, as a type A person, let me tell you that the world will end from any action or inaction. Just to be clear, the world will end.
It will. So there's nothing you can do about that. So it will be fine. It's
Oh
going
my
whatever's
gosh.
going to happen is going to happen.
Oh, how
There's
dare you?
so little that
That's
we can actually control.
that's brilliant. Oh my gosh, that's brilliant.
Therapy. No, but for real, like, I think probably a huge part of, having kids has
Mhm.
really made me realize that too. I can do everything for them or nothing. Like, I can do all the things, and at the end of the day, they are gonna do whatever they wanna do. I cannot control other people's actions, even my children, my dog. I can't control what they do as much as I may want to.
Now that sounds like a very zen mindset to be able to get to that place to realize that because I know a lot of people struggle with their interpersonal relationships just from the fact that they can't bridge that gap in their minds between the fact that they want someone to do something, they want them to behave a certain way, and then the other person just doesn't deliver exactly that. So a
Mhm.
lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that struggle is probably completely unnecessary.
I mean, I struggled with it for a long, long time with relationships. When my husband and I first started dating, I was very much, I tried to control everything. And he probably would still say I try and control everything. I am. I do try and control as much as I possibly can. But in the back of my mind, I realize I can't. You can only control you.
Mhm.
In any situation, all we can control is how we react, how we act, what we do. And I loved my boyfriend, husband, very much, but I also had to break up with him because I could not control him, and I also could not live with who he was
Mm.
and his life.
So you had to make a choice.
Mhm, and I chose me, and then he chose to change,
And
but not because I controlled him, because we broke up and he realized that, the way he was acting, he wanted to act like, so the opposite for him, like, he did not want to be controlled at all. He didn't wanna have to, like,
Mhm.
check in or do those things, and so we just viewed things very differently once upon a time ago. When I and it was a big realization. I remember one time he said that to me, "I don't wanna have to check in with someone," and I was like, "Whoa, that's not
Mm.
what this should it" you
Yeah,
know?
like, let's not bridge.
Like, if
No. Yeah.
you shouldn't think of checking in with me, like, you should just want to talk to me at the end of the night. We were long distance at the time, and
Mhm.
you should want to talk to me at the end of the night or first thing in the morning, and if you don't want to do that, that's fine, but I want to be with somebody who wants to do that,
Yeah.
so,
So having expectations line up to your needs, it's important.
yeah.
And to choose yourself, that's important.
Mhm.
A lot of people struggle with that, especially a lot of type A people. What advice would you have for them?
It goes probably the simplest piece of advice people give all the time, right? Like, choose your hard.
Mhm.
Like, everything is hard. Everything that we do every single day is hard. So, which kind of choose your hard? Like, do you
Yeah.
want to be fighting against something all the time? Or because I feel like a lot of, and this is very stereotypical generalizations here, but a lot of people who are type A can often be trying to like always fight the flow. And you can't. And at some point in time, you have to realize like, it's really, really hard to continuously do that. And are you getting the outcome you want? Or are you exhausted and frustrated and
Yeah.
you still
I
didn't
think
get what you want?
yeah, I think life is kinda like a current, a river, right? Where the current is just gonna keep pushing you in one direction, and just fighting that direction with all your might is
Mhm.
only gonna get you so far before you wear yourself out. That's just the reality of the situation.
It's exhausting out here.
But choose your heart.
Yeah.
Everything doesn't have to be exhausting.
Yeah.
So, if you could just change one thing about the way the world perceives you and type B people, what would it be?
For me, I would love to not be so messy, just constant disorganization. Because when you think about choosing your hard, like I spend, for example, we just went out to dinner. I didn't know where my purse was. I didn't know where my keys were. Like I didn't know where anything was. So I'm activating the tile on my phone to find, to hear the beeping to figure out where my purse
Nice.
was. And it was in the car. Well, I haven't even driven in, like, 2 days, so that means it was in the car from, like, 2 days ago,
Yeah.
and it's like that sometimes that is so overwhelmingly, like, chaotic and out of control. I feel like if I could change one thing about my behavior and myself, I would love to be organized and just know where everything is.
It's not a big ask, I mean, I'm not saying it's not an I'm not saying it's an easy task to complete, but you're not asking for the universe for a lot, it seems like.
Right. I mean, the universe would probably be a lot better off if I were more organized and I knew where my stuff was because, things would flow better.
Just a little bit, just a little bit. Like, perfection it's a whole thing for a lot of people. So,
Mhm.
like, when it comes to being perfect, especially mothers, they put this pressure on themselves to meet these standards that seem impossible, really. Why? Why do you think that is?
Me personally, I could only speak to, but I think a lot of us want to give our kids like the perfect life.
Mm,
We want our kids to have a great life. We want them to have friends and we want them to be happy and we want them to experience everything and we want them to travel and we want them to never be bullied. Like you want to give your kids the perfect life, right? And like people you love. I think people you
yeah.
love generally, you want them to have a good life. But when it's your kid and I think also from the perspective of like how hard life can be and you just want to make things better and easier, and but oftentimes that creates an opposite effect of, like, you do too much for them,
Mhm,
or you shelter them, or you bubble them, and I learned when I was an assistant principal that I could be I really, really learned that it is impossible for mothers particularly,
mhm,
but I mean, I think just people in general, but, like, you cannot be 100%. You can only be 100% at one thing. So, right, like, I was trying to be the best assistant principal. It was my 3rd or 4th year as an AP. I was still learning a lot. I
mhm.
was a first it was my 1st year as a mom. We'd only been married for, like, 2 years. So I was still new in, like, all of these roles
Yeah.
and learning, and I felt like I was failing at everything. And I think that a lot of people, just period, but parents, mothers especially, put that pressure of themselves of like, you want to have a clean home, you want to make dinner, you want your kids to be, you want to play with your kids, right? Like you want to come home from work and play with your kids. And then there's the
Mhm.
guilt of, oh, well, I'm going to work for 12 hours a day and I'm only seeing my kid for 2.
Yeah.
It's a lot,
It's definitely a lot, and that realization that you can only 100% one thing at a time, that's gotta be hard to swallow for anybody. So, I'm just trying to imagine a world in which everybody says, "I'm just gonna do my best at when I can," what that
right?
would even look like. Like, is that even possible? Or are we gonna just have people just striving for these impossible standards for all the time because it's what's expected of them?
I don't know. I think you can only give your best in every situation every day. That's all you can do is give your best. It's all gonna be okay. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's gonna be okay. I think that's the reminder that we all have to just keep doing every single day. When that itch to be perfect comes, it's all gonna be okay.
Same thing with the phone and the red bubbles, right? I have 35,000 unread emails.
I'm
That's
sorry.
fall into a spiral.
I'm sorry. Repeat that number one more time.
I mean, I don't know, it's probably a lot more because somehow my email, like, automatically organized itself, and so now it's very 62,380.
Oh,
So,
62,000 emails. Cheers.
here's
Woo.
here's
I would turn the bubble off. Just me, but that's just me.
And I look at it like, well, I can never catch up to that, so what's the point? But, I mean, I'd have to just delete those emails, like, the email address, like, you just have to throw the whole phone away.
Wait.
But then you get a new phone and they're still there. They're just on the new phone automatically. Like, "Well,
True.
can't win this."
So, just one last thing about perfection. Do you still feel the pressure to be perfect at anything, or have you just completely freed yourself from that?
I think I definitely still feel the pressure, and I still have times where I will have, like, a breakdown of I feel like I'm failing at everything because I don't even strive for perfection. I'll say that. I do not strive for perfection because I really don't subscribe to perfection. Like, I don't believe that that's
Mhm,
obtainable, um, in, like, a well-rounded person. Like,
mhm.
maybe you could be perfect at, like, one thing, but what even does that mean? Like, how are you even perfect? Who's measuring that?
Who is measuring?
Yourself, right? Like, it's a self-measuring for most of the time, unless it's like, are you winning a gold at the Olympics? Like,
And
I don't
even then, they took away, like, perfect 10s in a lot of the things.
right,
So
and even then, it's still a little, it's a little subjective, so
Huh,
but I do absolutely have times where I feel, like, very less than inadequate and like I'm failing at things, like, I can never I don't make perfect dinners every night, like,
mhm,
well-balanced, perfect meals. I'm not always in a great mood for my kids, like, I don't know, like, things like that probably bother me the most of, like, I'm still really bitchy sometimes and, tell my kids, like, "No, I don't wanna read you a story tonight because I just don't want to." And then I'm like, "Oh my god, you're not supposed to say things like that." But, there are times where I think we really just, like, beat ourselves up. for things that we're just being people, and, like, you just gotta there's no perfection.
I think everybody deserves to live the full human experience, and you can't have that experience trying to be perfect, because being perfect is, by definition, not human. To be human is to be imperfect. It's to be a bit messy. It's to not get it right every time. But to be human does mean that we try our best when we can, at least. But
Yeah.
I think everybody deserves to give themselves that grace and that space to just be a human.
But do you think that there are people like yourself who don't give that grace to be imperfect?
I believe that it depends on the situation, because everyone has to come to the realization at some point that you can't be perfect at everything. You have to, right? And my therapist and I are constantly working on grace, and we're constantly
Mhm.
working on, how do we find spaces to give permission, for imperfection, for messiness, for just being. How do you find that space? So, as a work in progress, I
Mhm.
say perfection is for the birds.
We unsubscribe to perfection.
Absolutely. Unsubscribe. Do not want. Delete me from the mailing list.
Yes.
So when someone no longer pursues perfection, do you think success has the ability to look different?
I think success is a lot like perfection. Like, who's measuring it? What
Mhm.
does success look like to you and in what situation? I think it really depends on what situation you're talking about. Um, what does success look like? What does it look like as an employee, as a friend, as a partner, as a mother, father? Like, what does it look like as a child? Like, whenever, or as I often talk about my mother and like how I help take care of her a lot. It's like, what does success look like in all those different situations?
Mhm. It definitely should be situational, and it definitely seems like maybe there's work to be done for a lot of people because they just use it as a blanket, like, I want to be successful at everything, but that
Mhm.
goes back to like perfection or even doing your best, right? You can only 100% one thing at a time,
Mm,
right? Like, can you be a success at absolutely everything? Probably not. But where is the fun in that? Where do you learn and where do you grow if you are successful at everything? Because
right.
isn't a lot of the growing happening in the failures, in the moments where you have to take that step back and you have to say, you know what, I can do better here, or I can learn from this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think our biggest successes come from failures. You could because you learn.
Hmm.
You learn what not to do, so then you would be more successful the next time. You learn what works for you. I mean, it's just constant, or you learn how it feels like when you have a failure and you don't want to have that feeling again. I think it's just so situational. But I think you're right where success and perfection almost can be interchanged, those words,
Hmm.
the way people treat them.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I think we've come to the conclusion that success and perfection are for dummies. Um,
Obviously, that is the conclusion.
and we've also come to the conclusion that there's some work to be done, whether you're type A or type B, but just do the best that you can do, right?
Yeah, that's all you can do.
So, Mary, I have one last question for you, if I may.
Okay.
Where the heck can people find you?
Oh, people can find me on social media,
Okay.
on TikTok.
Hmm.
Uh, if you want to hear more about just crazy hot mess, Mary Mac is my TikTok handle at Mary dot underscore Mac, or not dot, at Mary underscore Mac is my
Awesome.
TikTok handle, where I talk a lot about all things. Unfortunately, I have tried so hard to niche down many, many times, and it's not possible for me. I talk about my GLP-1 story. I talk about life, TikTok shop. Also on Instagram, I'm Mary's Balanced Life.
Amazing. Mary, may I offer one last cheers before we go?
Sure.
I would like to make a cheers to embracing our personalities, type A, type B, but imperfect and perfectly so.
Okay. Well, cheers to that.
Cheers. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really, really appreciated the conversation and the joy and the drinks. Just thank you so much, Mary.
Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun, and I appreciate the conversation as well.
And thank you to our listeners for joining in. And this has been Cheers to This.